What's up, people? Let's get this rolling on every other social media platform. You know the drill already. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, all right, hit the sub if you like this content. If you like anything that I talk about, or if you learn anything from what I talk about, hit the sub, hit the like, share it out to a friend. You know what time it is. All right. Yo, what's up, people? What the fuck is up? What's happening, people? Hope you guys and girls are enjoying your Thursday today. We're gonna, if you notice, sort of stick to the mindset related theme this week with this episode titled Men Don't Cry. And of course, I mean, if you have common sense, or at least if you've been tuning in for the last couple of, I don't know, weeks, months, years, you'll know that this is not exactly what the title actually is. But we're going to be diving into this sort of topic. And I'm going to be giving you guys and girls my experiences as I always do and just share, an open, honest take on essentially the mental, we'll say the mental strength of men nowadays, or at least what I think it should be like based off of my experiences and how I was able to at least gain some strength mentally in my life by going through some of the experiences that I went through. And you might be listening to this and then figure out or think of something that happened in your life, and you might be able to sort of connect the dots and be able to take away from this something that can help you sort of get a little bit more strength. It's not only for men this episode. I mean, I mostly talk to men. I mostly work with men, but it's not only for men. TR, what the fuck is up? And Manraj was good. What's up, people? Hope you guys are enjoying your day. So, without wasting any time, this was going to be actually short and sweet. I'll be diving into this podcast recording in five, four, three, two, and one. Yo, what's good, meatheads? Hope you're having an amazing day, and welcome to another episode of the Meathead on the Mic podcast. It's your turning champion, IFBB Pro Matt Butale, coming at you with another topic. And today, I'll be sharing a perspective that I know a lot of you men will resonate with. All right. But before we get into this, don't forget to share this out to a friend. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, also if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the fucking sub. Show me some love. All right. So let's get into this one. Okay. As a man, and let me know if you relate with this, man. All right. As a man, I only cry when I'm angry, right? And there's like a big quotation around crying because it's not really crying if you're angry, right? But jokes aside, if I had to count the amount of times this year that I've cried, it would take less than fucking three fingers. It'd be on one hand, right? And that's not to say that I'm proud of that. Okay, we're gonna be getting into this one today. It's not about it's not about this false sense of machismo and shit, and like not crying. Like the goal here is not to not cry. And the goal here is not to cry. But we're gonna be talking about it. Let's just dive a little bit deeper. All right. So I don't usually talk about pain when I'm going through it. I'm the type of person to, if I go through something, I'll talk about it, but I'll talk about it way after, when I'm cooled down, when I can think, when I can reflect, which is I like to think is responsible, right? But essentially, I want to sort of get my head into a space where I can get as close to feeling as we'll say as much pain as possible, something that would make me cry, so that I can sort of break down how I think when I'm in that state, and so that you, the listener, can take something away from this and probably benefit from the way that I handle some things when I feel like I'm super fucking tense, or there's like fucking shit ton of depression or anxiety in my life, or at least when I perceive there to be that much anxiety that I want to like break down. And again, I'm a human being. I'm a professional bodybuilder, right? I'm all these other things, but I'm a human being, right? So I want to really, really draw that parallel here. You're a human being listening to this. I'm not perfect. Neither the fuck are you. And I'm gonna really try my best to explain that in today's podcast episode. Okay, so I don't usually talk about pain when I go through it, because most times when I do talk about it, and let me know if you guys can relate. Some of you girls might be able to relate, but it's very rare for you girls to relate to this one. When you do talk about the pain, you're usually met with, as a guy, you don't have it that bad, or I had to go through 10 times what you had to go through or what you went through, right? And while those words do hold, valuable merit, while that makes fucking sense, like let's just give you an example here. Like most of us are pretty soft here, man. It's the fucking first world. Like most of us cry about shit that people like our cousins or our relatives in the third world would laugh at, right? So if we're speaking of, the feeling of pain relative to the world, the first world is a joke. We cry about nothing. We cry about everything. We cry about it's just fucking, you know what I mean? So there will always be an example that you can pull that will compare your pain to someone else's pain and then make your with the intention of you of making your pain less adequate, or like your pain isn't as important, which in a way it's actually fucking not, because in the grand scheme of things none of this shit matters at all actually. But you feel what you feel, right? And you react based off of how you feel. The whole point is to control your reactions, not your feelings. Okay, like you can feel fucking unhappy, you can feel depressed, you can feel angry, whatever, but it's your reaction based on those feelings that give those feelings power, if that makes sense. So we're going to be diving into that. All right. You know and let me know, guys, if you've ever heard this one. I'm just going to wind it back here so we're back on track. You don't have it that bad. You don't have it. I had to go through 10 times as much as you did, or 10 times worse, or whatever it is. And you could definitely relate to this if you are a first world kid and you got a parent that's an immigrant, right? And your parents like, well, fuck, when I was 17 I had to leave the village and I went to Europe, and then I sold books to get from Europe to get to the United States, worked illegally in the United States, and then went to Canada, took your mother, sponsored her here, married her, and all this shit, and I was fucking young, and the world this and that, I didn't speak the language, I learned a new language. Okay, low-key, that was the story of my dad, but that's a real fucking example of like how others, especially coming from a harder background and lifestyle, um, had it harder than you. And it's true, they had it harder than you. But does them having it harder than you make it so that you don't necessarily have it hard at all? Like, I personally don't believe that, but it is true, as ironic as that sounds. Because, like, let's look at it. You're raising your fucking circumstances. Like, what you have is what you have. If you were born with a fucking silver spoon, first world country, that's a fucking blessing, right? But you're still going to be able to find a few things on that silver spoon that are dirty, or a few things in your life that will make you feel a certain way. And are you not entitled to feel a certain way? That's the question, right? But as I said, feel however you want, but don't give those feelings, those negative feelings, power by acting on it. Because that's what makes it shit. You can feel sad, but acting sad all the time is what's gonna fuck you up. You can feel angry, but punching people in the face all the time because you're angry is gonna fucking get you arrested. You get my drift, right? So it's not that other people having harder lives or a harder circumstance than you is makes yours less valuable. It technically is, but that's not what the point is. But the point is how you actually respond to that, like what you decide to do with the feeling, and that's ultimately what creates where you are or where you will go, based off of that feeling, right? So, um, you know, I'll be honest, like our parents, if you are a first world kid, or whatever, if your parents are immigrants, they definitely make the situation worse when you're not in the frame of mind to digest their POV. Like their POV is like, I had it so hard. You know what I mean? Like, how could you be crying about spilt milk? I had to fucking milk a cow and then I spilt the milk, like type shit, right? So typically, when as men, that's the sort of culture, that's the sort of like way that our emotions are treated. It's always be tougher, be stronger, which is always to our benefit. Like I'm for that. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes it's not always 100% relevant, because sometimes it's just a feeling that you're feeling, and you have to, instead of minimizing that feeling, just learn how to shut it off, or just to learn how to not react to it. Not to say that that feeling doesn't necessarily exist, because you do feel it, but to not give it the power, or at least to not lose control by giving it power, right? So it's not always like, again, like when you're not in the frame of mind to digest something that is supposed to be constructive criticism, it's it becomes like, how do you say, it doesn't bring you down, or it shouldn't bring you down, but it does. You know what I mean? And it's not always that way, because I have some brothers, some mentors, some like literally some uncles, and even my dad. Some people that I truly confide in, that don't really do that to me intentionally, or they try not to do that. Because as men, it's very easy to say like, "Fucking suck it up. What are you crying about, pussy?" You know what I mean? But I also have some men in my life that are aware enough to be like, okay, well, I'm still gonna say that. I'm still gonna call you a pussy. You know what I mean? But let's break it down. What the fuck is really going on, and why are you acting like this? You know what I mean? Because I think personally that's more important. Like, why are you acting like this? And how can we get you to change from acting like the only difference from like between somebody acting or between somebody that's depressed and fucking suffering and somebody that's depressed and doing shit is like the way they act. And the person that acts depressed is the one that's going to really feel it. The person that is depressed still and doesn't act like it, they win. And it's not that there's something to win here, but it's like the negativity can't hold them down because their brain just isn't in that position. You feel what I'm saying? Okay. So again, I've got some people in my life, and I hope you've got some people in your life that are able to still call you out and call you a pussy when you need to be called a pussy, but at the same time, break down and like talk about what the fuck the underlying issue is so you don't act like that feeling. And if you don't act like that feeling, you won't be stuck in that position for long. If that makes sense. Right? Like, again, let me just give you an example here. Let me give you an experience here, just to be a little bit more vulnerable, so you guys listening to this can get more of an idea of what I'm talking about. All right. I recently opened up to an older family member of mine, and I was met with those exact words, like, like, fuck, I had it so hard. I had to come, from different countries or whatever. Like my life was way more difficult than yours, so you shouldn't be mad about this thing, right? Let me know if you can relate with that, right? This is typically with men. And I'll be honest with you, like I am and always will be like grateful for this person no matter what. I'll always be grateful for this person. I'll always be grateful for this role model. I'll always be grateful for constructive criticism no matter what. But I'll be honest with you, when that role model or when that older family member reached out to me just because I was like in the heat of the moment, I didn't respond as well as I should have. And I fucking lost it. Right. So I started to act based off of my feelings instead of just having the feeling and not acting like I had the feeling because I was like dissecting. Okay, well, I have this feeling for what? And then talk literally to myself about why I want to do some things based off of that feeling. But when you're in the heat of the moment and you're not thinking, that's the worst part because you just do the thing that your feeling is telling you to do instead of having that time to cool down in between, think, and then not do the thing that your feeling's telling you to do. So I ended up fucking losing it, right? And as I said, I'm not perfect. I am a human being, and everything that I tell you guys and girls, I am actively working on myself. So again, I'm not here to tell you like from this pedestal. I'm not here to tell you from like a perspective of being perfect and shit. That's just not real, right? So whatever I'm telling you, I have to listen to as well, and that I am listening to. So just keep that in mind. Um, so again, anyway, I lost my shit, right? And um, I was going through what was a lot for me, and I didn't handle or I didn't retaliate the way that I actually wanted to. I actually felt embarrassed when I thought about the way that I handled it, right? So um, it felt like every time that I'd bring up my pain, we'd play like hot potato, metaphorically speaking, to figure out who has it worse. Like, I'm just gonna tell you, this is what I'm going through, and then you're gonna fucking throw a hot potato on me and say, "Well, this is what I'm going through." I'm like, cool. I mean, not cool, but like, that's not the point. I wasn't here to talk about you. I'm here. I'm telling you what the fuck I'm dealing with, and then it just back and this is how it is with men usually, right? And if you're a man, let me know if you can relate with that. It's always, you have it worse, I have it worse. No, you have it worse, I have it worse, and then we never really figure out shit, or we never really come to the bottom of like understanding how we're supposed to respond to shit. You know what I mean? Which is the most ironic thing ever because you want to help each other, right? Assuming that you guys are like you actually give a shit and you want to do good, you want to help each other, but it just becomes this game of like who's more manly, like who has dealt with more shit, who can handle the most, and is still quote unquote successful or at least in control of the situation, right? And I'll be fucking honest with you, like it felt like that every single time I would talk about pain or something that was bugging me, with a guy, with a dude that wasn't some of the people that I confide in that don't do that. Um, it really did feel as if like my pain was irrelevant, and I'll be honest with you, it's like a hot potato landed square on my fucking palms, and I went berserk. I lost control because I'm like, "Yeah, bro, like, it's not even about being insensitive at this point. It's like, are you fucking ignorant? Like, I just need somebody to listen to help me, right? Like, you know what I mean? How do I not act like this fucking guy? You know, based off of what I'm going through. Like, how do I not act based off of these negative feelings, based off of what I'm going through? And instead of getting response, a solution, and this is something that I gotta criticize you guys for. You know, usually the guys, men nowadays, would just throw something of their own projection back at you, and that's not helpful. It's not helpful. I understand maybe you want to inspire somebody by showing them, yeah, I had it harder and I still made it out. I get it, but it isn't as helpful as it could be, or as I think as you might intend it to be. And I'll be honest, yo, I started fucking yelling at the top of my lungs, screaming out curse words that I instantly regretted, and toting my, success as a means to belittle this person, which is, and I'm just gonna be honest with you, a huge problem of mine. Um, Part of being extremely motivated and driven is believing in yourself so much that it's like ridiculous, that it's almost cancerous, that it's like anybody around you might, or almost everybody around you might just view you as like an egotistical, like asshole, you maniac, because you're so deluded and or convoluted with your own like self image. You think that because you did this, you did that, you can do everything. And the truth is, yes, I think because I did this and I did that, I can do everything. Does that make it true? No. But that's the mindset that I have and the mindset that I need to keep in order to continue succeeding in my fucking life. It's how I got my pro card. It's how I continuously change my body. It's how I, hit new milestones in my business. It's how I'm able to impact the world in my small way and then soon to be large way. Right. So that's a mindset and a frame that I sort of keep myself in. And when I lose control, and I'm just being vulnerable here, right? When I lose control, right? And you guys may be able to relate to this, that the worst parts of you might start to actually come out. So instead of being super, super confident, which is normally what I am, when I mix that with anger, it becomes super duper egotistical. And I just start trying to put people down based off of, comparing our lives, which is in a sense ironic because that's what the other men would do, right? So it's like a revolving door, right? And like it's fucked. It's really fucked because you have to be like very aware as a man to not do that. Even if you haven't achieved a lot as a man, it's just like almost the go-to response, ego for men when it comes to any situation, whether you're the person that's getting fucked or the other person's getting fucked and you're in that situation. Ego is the thing that usually keeps people in that same position or at least doesn't allow anyone to progress because there's no real solution being provided, you know? And I started yelling at the top of my lungs and saying a whole bunch of shit that I just like as soon as it came out of my mouth, I remember just thinking like, why did I say that? You know what I mean? Why did I do that? And I just started cringing the moment I would think those thoughts as I was yelling them, which brought me back to the grounded perspective of understanding that I can feel however I want, but I shouldn't act on it. Like I can feel tired, but I'm still going to the gym. I can feel full, but if I gotta eat that meal to make that muscle, I'm gonna fucking do it. I can feel a certain way and I don't have to act based off of that feeling because that's where you lose control because the feelings control you. The whole goal here is not to not feel. Like you're a human being, you are going to feel. The goal is to discern whether or not and decide whether or not you're going to act based off of said feeling based off of if it's going to be productive, beneficial, or if it's going to hold you back, right? To be able to discern between turning that switch on and off is the ultimate power as a man, in my opinion, at least in this context, right? So, again, I released the beast that was inside me in the worst way possible, and I felt it. It was like my actions were reprehensible. I'm not proud of what I did, and I fucking apologized profusely. Like I was apologizing like a motherfucker. Like I was sorry as shit. And but when I sat there on the front porch of my house afterwards, I thought to myself, I was like, outside of like this fierce verbal warfare, like when do I ever let these disgusting emotions free? Like when do I ever let it out? We'll say. Like when do I ever do that? Like if you're always controlling your reaction to the feelings that you have and you never actually release whatever it is that's inside, like isn't that bad? Is the question that started to pop up in my head, right? And if you're asking me now, I actually think it's bad to not let it out. But there are outlets, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, right? Like Actually, we'll talk about it right now. Like, what's one of the outlets that I usually go to and that you guys usually might go to? The gym. The gym's a great outlet. Go to the gym, you get to go fucking Hulk. You get to go wild, lift shit, slam it on the ground, push yourself, sweat, scream, grunt, everything, right? But is it all that you need to get rid of this? That disgusting feeling or all those disgusting emotions that you bottle up? It's not all you need, trust me. And if it was, then I wouldn't have lashed out. Okay? I wouldn't have lashed out. And well, let's think of something else then. Okay, if it's not only the gym, what else could you add to it? Well, work, kinda, because you don't work 25/8. You only work when you work, and then when you're not working, and then you're not, and you're out of that sphere where you're always focused and nothing else can bother you, then you're still sort of vulnerable in that sense, right? As a man, like when you leave work or come back home or whatever it is, you're not in that state anymore, so you can't really take full advantage of that to use it as a way to, or means to, like, escape or to let out those emotions by focusing or by being productive, because you're not always productive. Let's be real, right? And sometimes when I do cardio, it also is another outlet for me. I won't lie. But what about outlets with like your verbs, like with actually just talking to another person, like with the bros? Honestly, not as often as I should. Like I don't do that as often as I should. I don't let out those disgusting emotions through conversation with my bros as often as I should, and probably neither do you, right? And the truth is, for me at least, I never really get all of those disgusting emotions out. Like I don't really, and I'm calling them disgusting because I think they're disgusting. It doesn't mean that they are. Like, you can view anger as a disgusting emotion, but anger can also fuel you to do amazing things, right? Same thing with heartbreak. Heartbreak is a disgusting emotion, you can say, right? But heartbreak can also push you to do amazing things. And an example of that is, if you know the stereotype, uh, what was it? Breakups make bodybuilders. Yes, I fall into that stereotype because my first competition was in response to a breakup, and then that led to me creating this journey, which ended up creating this lifestyle for me, where now I actually impact people worldwide. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been self-employed for 2 years plus, right? I'm a professional bodybuilder now, right? So, would you call heartbreak a disgusting emotion if it, or what I call heartbreak a disgusting emotion if it allowed me to literally fucking find myself and help a lot of people along the way, hundreds of people along the way, and serve as, as much as I can every single day. Like, what I call heartbreak a negative or a disgusting emotion. Not in that context. But if we're talking about the feeling of it feels like shit. If you ever, gone through a breakup, it feels like fucking garbage, right? So you shouldn't at least define or put meanings on like emotions or things as good or bad, especially if they're bad. Because if they're bad and you associate it with bad, then it's just the worst thing you can do for yourself. Take it from me. And so, anyway, getting back on, because we went on a little tangent there. Getting back onto the topic, I wouldn't really talk about those things as much as I should, and I would act on them negatively because I thought they're disgusting emotions, and those disgusting emotions, quote unquote, I would try to relieve myself of when I would go to the gym, when I would do cardio, but never really much when I talked or communicated with another person, and specifically other men, right? Which is, I think, really important. As a man, you got to talk to other men about your issues, right? And I never really got out of all of those, we'll say, quote unquote, disgusting emotions out, because I was only looking at them as disgusting emotions. I never look at them as like neutral. Like, so with heartbreak, and that this is sort of where I found like that not that parallel, but I've it's sort of like the Pandora's box open, because I realized, like, yes, heartbreak sucks to feel, but if I don't act heartbroken, like if I don't act based off of that, then it's actually fucking wicked. I could use that to catapult myself into a positive direction. And not to say that you can always, or you should always, um use, quote unquote, whatever we'll label as negative emotions as something to push yourself forward, right? Whatever you call negative. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying emotions shouldn't dictate what you do with yourself, right? Let's break it down. Yes, I said I fall under the category of like being, what they said, breakups make bodybuilders, whatever. But I was still bodybuilding. Like, I was still going to the gym and all that shit before that the breakup actually happened. But when the breakup happened, I could have acted heartbroken and not, fucking followed through with my shit, or I could have followed through with my shit anyway and still be heartbroken. So you're going to be heartbroken anyway. But what you decide to do based off of the reaction of the feeling is ultimately what's going to put you in a position or a different position in your life, if that makes sense to you. Right? I hope that makes sense to you. I really tried my best to break that down. So that's my point here, guys and girls. Letting it out isn't just, especially guys, man, letting it out isn't just like letting it out, like going to the gym and blowing off steam. It's literally understanding that whether you feel that way or not, as a man, you should do what you're supposed to do. All right. Like you should do what you're supposed to do because regardless, you're either going to feel the way that you're going to feel and act based off of those feelings, or you're going to feel the way that you're going to feel and not act based off of those feelings. And the only difference or the main difference is the outcome at the end, which is everything. Because the outcome is what's going to make it worth it or not worth it. Was it worth it to really be depressed and act depressed and be in your bed all day? Or was it really worth it to be depressed and not act depressed and do the things that you said you were supposed to do, or go to the gym and eat healthy, make yourself feel good, take care of yourself, all that stuff. Like you get my drift here, right? You get my drift. All right. So I wouldn't really talk about this stuff as often as I should with the guys just to get it all out because I was really focused, or at least I tried to focus on not like I tried my best to focus on not giving meaning or a lot of meaning to what it meant to feel a certain way, like to feel bad. Like I tried hard, man, to for it to not mean as much to me so that I could just do what I had to do. As a man, I think that's a really, really cool or really, really valuable um mindset to have. Otherwise, every emotion that you have is going to put you in a headlock and you're never going to be able to make your own decisions because your decisions will be conducted by the way that you feel. That's the worst. 'Cause then you're a slave to your emotions, you're a slave to the rhythm, right? And I'll be honest with you, I rarely ever let, or at least I try my best to rarely let out negative energy or whatever we define as negative. Like, I try my best to really be quote unquote peaceful or whatever it is, right? Like nice and caring and stuff like that. And while it has helped me to, it really helped fuel my dreams and my once unimaginable, once unattainable personal goals. You know what I mean? But it's also led to some of the, like my worst downfalls. Like I'm so afraid sometimes of opening up to other men because of the emotions that come with it. So I often bottle them up. So for example, like if I talk about stuff for longer than I feel like I should talk about it, then I fear that I might end up acting like the feeling because I'm spending so much time talking about it. It's sort of like therapy. When you go to therapy, what do they do? You know what I mean? Like, what do they do when you go to therapy? And I know because I've been to therapy. And if you've been to therapy, then you know. So you go to therapy, then they're like, okay, well, like, why do you feel this way? And you're like, okay, I feel this way. They're gonna dig shit up, right? They're gonna talk about like whatever traumatic experiences you went through in your life. So I'll give you some of mine here. I'll be fucking vulnerable. So like we'll say because my dad got stabbed a couple of years ago, whatever. And recently he was in a really horrifying truck accident. He almost lost his life. Right. So let's say I went to the physiotherapist office and said, hey, why might you react this way? Or why do you react a certain way to like certain feelings or whatever? Right. Um, and they're gonna dig it up. They're gonna make you feel all the negative feelings that you felt the moment that you got the news, and then sort of pick apart like why you act that certain way. And then once you have the reason as to why, you sort of control how much energy that you give to that, like being triggered by those things. And although it works for some people, like I found for myself, it just doesn't work when I think and I overthink and think again about things that already happened that are negative, and I just keep them in my brain. The best thing I found was to allow them to exist. Like you're not going to delete the fact that it happened. It's a fact. Those negative things did happen, but to not react to them by just literally not thinking about them or trying your very best, trying my very best to not like think about them all the fucking time. Because when you like think about it, anything negative that you think about and you keep your mind on all the fucking time just drags you down. Like just to bring it back to the example of a breakup, right? Like bring it back there. It's like the week, the day it happens, the day you break up, whatever, right? It hurts like shit, right? unless you're a sociopath or psychopath. And then time passes by 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, half a year, 2 years, 5 years, and you don't even remember that person anymore. Why? Because you're not thinking about that person anymore. Why aren't you thinking about them? Not only are they not relevant, but the feeling has sort of gone. Is it which went first? Like, did the feeling leave first, or did you stop thinking about them first? So usually you stop thinking about them first because the feeling is going to be there for as long as it's going to be there until you can stop thinking about them. And the same thing happens with literally every other traumatic experience in my life, at least, is what I was able to sort of figure out, right, with my experience. So it's and that's why, like, I don't really believe in therapy. You can go if you want. I don't really like it because it just causes you to think about shit and never let that thought expire. It never lets you, like, it heals everything. You're not allowing time to heal, like, that problem. If you keep that fucking issue in your head, time will allow you to forget shit. And if you forget it, or if you don't think about it, and you've come to terms with the fact that it is a fact that you can't change it and that thinking about it does nothing for you, then what are you really doing? Like, that's why I don't really like therapy. But as a man, I still think it is valuable to talk to, other men about your issues so that you can just have someone to bounce back and reflect off of. And when you do that, it's I think not only do you not feel alone, but it becomes easier to ignore the emotion afterwards, or at least to not give it as much meaning. Because again, whether the person, the guy that you're talking to, the man that you're talking to, assuming we're speaking men to men here, whether they like give you those horrible, like, not horrible examples, but they throw their shit at you. They're like, oh well, you don't have it as hard as me, or you don't have it as hard as someone in Africa or India or whatever. Like, excluding those times that they might do that, the men that actually do listen and offer solutions will offer a solution similar to what I said, or at least it might. And I actually hope they offer a solution similar to what I said, because if you're not thinking about it for long and you don't let yourself sit there and just fucking ruminate on that negative thing, that's, like, in my opinion and in my experience, the best possible way to handle any adversity in your life over time. It's essentially continue doing what the fuck you're supposed to do as a man, right? But not necessarily by changing the feeling, by sort of giving it less meaning. You don't let it mean as much. You can still feel it, but because you feel it doesn't mean you're going to act a certain way. That's, like, the point here that I'm trying to make, right? And again, guys and girls, today I'm publicly stating that I'm tired of letting my main source of fuel be rage, right? I'm tired of forcing myself to swallow my negativity instead of spitting it out. Pause. I don't swallow or spit. Pause. We don't do that. I'm tired of riding in the backseat of my own fucking head. I'm done resenting my loved ones because I can't let go of shit. It's exhausting. So from here on in, I'm committing to microdosing the negativity I experience through opening up with my brothers and sisters in iron, who, like, just understand, like, and mentors too, business mentors, anybody that's in my life, really. Like, I commit to microdosing the negativity that I would ingest with them. So that doesn't mean going to the gym all the time to, like, let off steam, because that's what I have been doing. That's, like, the rage that I'm talking about that's fueled my success in a way, right? But instead of always doing that, which I found is still beneficial, I think it would be even more beneficial to find other outlets to sort of talk about this shit with, just as you men should. Because there's some things that you just can't outtrain. There are some things that you just can't, like, you just, like, you might try your best to distract yourself, or at least to give it less meaning. But to have someone to still talk to, especially someone that's gone through something similar, I think is still valuable if they are giving you constructive criticism and solutions instead of making you feel as if you're going crazy for what you're feeling. Right. And, like, again, from here on in, I commit to bleeding out the negative thoughts daily instead of bleeding on those I truly love and respect that didn't cut me. I commit to setting myself free and taking the wheel with positivity. Will I still experience negativity? Or at least what I define to be negative? Of course, it's life. I'm going to experience negativity, neutrality, positivity till I die. It's just what you're going to do. Whether you think about it or not, you're going to act based off of that. And you'll know what I'm talking about when you get there, right? Will I use negative energy as a means to fuel me or to give me inspiration? It's been constructive. It's worked for me in the past. So sometimes, I won't stop it. You know what I mean? But I won't make it my main go-to way of alleviating myself anymore because I realize that I'm like when I do that a lot, I become very insensitive. Giving no meaning to feeling doesn't mean giving no meaning to only bad feelings. It means giving no meaning to all feelings. So I can become very blank at times, and that's not something I really want because I want to be able to engage with and connect with people more often than I do. Right? Will it be an overnight fix? No, but it's time that I grow up and accept that I cannot grow if I keep myself in a pressure cooker. If I keep bottling shit up and handling it in ways where like I try my best to be like stoic or as stoic as possible, it's helped me, but it's not the only thing that can help me, and I'm aware of that. And sometimes I feel like a pressure cooker, like I'm about to explode, but I don't always have to feel like that because, and I'm letting you guys know this as well, because it is okay to actually go out and like look for people that have gone through what you went through and ask for help. I hate exploding. When I explode, I feel fucking annoyed. I feel like, why did I do that? Like, I know better. What the fuck am I doing? Type shit. Like, when I lose control, it's like the most cringe. And if you're a guy and you can relate with this, then you can relate with this. If you can't relate with this, then that's you. That's fine. But I mean, we'll say in order for me to be who I need to be, I must set myself free. Like, there is times where it's okay to use negative emotions to like push you in the gym. That's like my main thing, right? Like that's like the main thing. If I felt bad, I'd go to the gym. Even if I didn't feel bad, I would just go to the gym anyway. And then when I'm in the gym, something would cross my mind. Maybe it's something in the past negative, and I didn't really talk about it, and it's still sort of bottled up. And then middle way through my rap, I'm like, oh yeah, that thing, fucking go. And then I'm like pressing as hard as I can. There's that, and then there's like when I'm on the cardio and I'm like so out of breath and I'm like going hard, I'm thinking about randomly, like a random thought of something that I had bottled up will pop up in my head. And then all of a sudden I just spawn some magic energy and I'm like fucking going even harder on cardio, even though I was tired a second ago. Like there's benefits to that. And there's times where it's okay to use those, or at least what we define to be negative moments, or behaviors or feelings. There's times where it's okay to use that as, like to push you forward in a sense, right? To make me a better bodybuilder, a better athlete. Essentially, there's times where it's okay to be the Incredible Hulk, but it's more beneficial to be Bruce Banner. If that makes sense, because that's the dichotomy here. You know, when you're the Incredible Hulk, you're expressing your rage and all the negativity and all that shit. And hopefully, you're doing it in a constructive manner because you can either do it to destroy your life or to build your life. As a bodybuilder, it built my life. And for the people that aren't moving forward in their life, they're using those negative emotions to pull themselves down, man or woman. So it's long story short, to not make it like as confusing as it might be already, it's okay to be the Incredible Hulk if you are moving up, if you're doing things that are going to benefit you. You're spending your energy in a productive way, and that's actually making you feel like you're releasing the steam because the thought is in your head as you're doing the thing. But it's more beneficial to be Bruce Banner because when you're Bruce Banner, you're calm, you're stoic, you're able to think of things like properly through and through, right? And you're able to make the most rational decisions and not be influenced by what we call negative emotions or what we define to be negative, right? So it's okay to sometimes lash out and use rage and negativity or bad emotions to get you to where you need to be, but you can't stay in that state forever. It's better to be Bruce Banner than it is to be the Incredible Hulk if we're talking about longevity, and it doesn't make you less of a man to cry. Okay? This message to heart. That's it. That's I said it was going to be a quick one here, and I kind of lied to you. This is one of the episodes I did, but that's just because I decided to open up and get vulnerable, and I really wanted to share my thoughts with you guys and girls on this episode today. So that's it. That's all. If you like this episode, share it out with a friend. I hope I was able to deliver a valuable experience to you guys and girls today. Thank you so much for your precious time and attention. Also, if you're watching this on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, everywhere, wherever you're watching this, whichever platform you're seeing this being streamed on, don't forget to screenshot it and share it out to a friend. I would really, really, really appreciate that. Okay, I really would appreciate that. Let's embrace your inner meathead together. All right. I don't know why I butchered that. I'm gonna say that again. Let's embrace your inner meathead together It's been nice chatting. Hope you like what today's topic was about. Matt Butale, IFBB Pro, signing out. Boom. All right. Podcast is recorded. So I'm gonna look at some of the comments because I know I got quite a few on TikTok, Instagram, and I know I had like a troll here on TikTok, and I was like kind of reading his comments as I was going through, and it threw me off. But I'm like, whatever, whatever. You can choose to come, you can choose to leave, and he chose to stay. So clearly, either you were getting value or you have nothing better to do because you're unemployed and just want to sit here and throw shade. What a pussy! Isn't that funny? So as soon as the podcast is recorded, the person left the live stream. Real pussy. Because you know it's gonna rip you up anyway. Um, um. So okay, Matthew. What's up, Matthew? Matthew said, first of all, Tal says, yo, what's up? Shout out to everybody that joined. What the fuck is up? He says, I'd only cry by myself. Only way a female will see me cry is through my. You guys can guess where that went, but this guy's funny. This is fucking hilarious. And then another dude says, facts, the last time I cried was 1.5 years ago. So the whole point of this was wasn't to tell you guys not to cry. I won't lie that the title of this episode is a little bit salacious, but it's not the point of this is not to tell men not to cry. It's like what I do when I don't cry. Do you know what I mean? And explaining everything, layer by layer under that. But okay, I'm not gonna clap for you because you didn't cry in 1.5 years. I think that's alarming. You are a human being too. Just beware of that. That's all I gotta say to you. Um, Dan, Leroy, Garav, thank you for joining. Kissa, thanks for joining. Homie also says it's just a feeling knowing that is all you needed. Wait, I'm gonna read that again. So it's just a feeling knowing that is all you need. It's not gonna last forever. You're only gonna feel it for 20 minutes and it'll pass away. No, that's well, at least maybe that is might like you might feel that way for yourself. That might be your actual experience. So if it is, then that is. But for me, it's not, and for most people, I don't think it is. Like, think of it, man. Let's be real. Let's cut it down. I know you're young. Definitely, you have to be young because there's no other way that you would say that and think it makes sense. And I'm not insulting you. I'm just breaking it down. So, like, think of it. If pain only lasted 20 minutes, we wouldn't even have this conversation. If it only took 20 minutes for somebody to get over a breakup, if it only took 20 minutes for somebody to get over the bad news that they didn't get accepted into the school that they wanted to go to, if it only took 20 minutes for anybody to get over a divorce, none of this, we wouldn't have this conversation today. Feelings, they last as long as you give them permission to. I'll give them that. Like, so that's why I said if this is your reality, it's your reality. That's cool. But at the same time, let's keep it a stack here. Let's be honest. We are human beings, and nothing really just hurts for 20 minutes and then it'll pass away, right? It can hurt for your whole life. It can hurt for 5 minutes. But the whole point is whether it hurts for 5 minutes or whether it hurts for your whole life, you don't react based off of the negative feelings, or you don't partake in the negative activities that your quote unquote whatever you define to be negative feelings would make you want to do. And so if you feel the pain for 5 minutes and you want to fucking drink fucking hard liquor for 5 minutes, the whole point is to be able to not drink hard liquor for 5 minutes, even though you felt the pain for 5 minutes. The whole point is to defeat the urge of wanting to do that negative thing that's going to pull you down while still feeling whatever it is that you're going to feel anyway, because you're going to feel it anyway. It's like going to the gym, as I said earlier on. You're going to feel fucking tired sometimes. And this is, of course, discounting the fact that, like, like listening to your body, of course, if you're overtraining, that's something else. But like, let's just say this was the mental thing and it was raining and it wasn't a sunny day. So you don't want to leave the house and you don't want to go to the gym after work. You can definitely feel tired, lazy, and all that shit. But the difference between feeling different, lazy and all that and tired and not feeling that way is just an action. So you have to act like you're not tired and lazy, even though you feel that way, which means you go to the gym anyway. Okay. That's the point that I wanted to make here. It's not that like fucking feelings don't matter or that they're irrelevant. It's that they do matter, but you make them matter too much. You have to make it matter less by still carrying out the actions that someone who didn't have those feelings would carry out, so that at the end you ultimately benefit, and that feeling doesn't make you do shit, and that feeling doesn't have control over you. So that's pretty much like my point here, bro. But I do appreciate you chiming in, and everybody that chimes in. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I'm not roasting you guys or whatever. Like, I'll never like intentionally do that. And if you ever feel like roasted, I apologize, because that's not my point. I don't want to do that to you. I really just want to like break it down and talk about this in a really constructive way, or at least as constructive as we possibly can. So I appreciate you, homie. Thanks for sharing that. Matt says, on a real note, the way handled bad times is to remember when I had it a lot worse. And that's another thing too, right? You can definitely do that. You can definitely do that. And that's another way that is realistic, that can help you, um, or that you can use to help you move forward in your own life. Looking at past experiences that you already overcame, right? Say I've done that too. Like I do that a lot. I literally do that every time um I go to the gym. Like, I remember I went to the gym when excuse me, like the week my father got stabbed, or the week where my father almost died in a truck accident, right? That was those were both really fucking hard times, aside from other shit in my life. Like when I was really really young, and I was still training. And I talked about this a couple of times on a couple of podcast episodes. But when I was really really young, and my parents divorced, and I was like mentally caught up with that, I remember still going to the gym, even though I wanted to just fucking curl up and cry in my bed, and just stay there and just be fucking defeated by the feeling, right? And I still went to the gym. So when I think of other negative things, or even any future negative thing that might just happen, I think to myself, I'm like, well, I was able to go through this when I was 14 years old. I was able to go through that when I was 16, 17 years old. I was able to go through that, and then I would look back on what I was able to go through, and then that would also give me a little kick in the ass to let me know that I'm like, literally, to tell me who the fuck I am, and it reminds me what the fuck I'm made of. So definitely, that is a valuable piece of constructive criticism that I think a lot of men should take in. So I appreciate that, Matt. Shout out to everybody else that joined here. Man Rush says big pause. This guy knows. TR Rush is good. Oh, he was here the whole time. He says good stuff. Thanks for the insight. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you, man. I really do appreciate it, man. This is one of those really long episodes. I'm happy about this. Happy about this one today. Um, wow, we got quite a few comments on TikTok. 187 likes. Cool. Honestly, just for the fuck of it, just because this is like already done, and I pretty much exhausted this conversation for the most part, and said everything I think I need to say that might help you guys, and some of you girls. I'm gonna read some of the silly comments, because that's fun too. Let's be honest here. Like, that's kind of fun. And then once I'm done reading these silly comments, I'm gonna get back to work and completing this like super fucking large unit, or these 12 units that I'm developing for my clients. So he's low key a pillow biting bottom. That's fucking hilarious. Like, that's Josh says that. Josh also says window licking, crayon eating, toilet seat sniffing clown. This is crazy. Like, honestly, normally this would annoy me if I was like in the middle of a podcast episode, because it'll fucking throw off my focus. But like, now that I've already said what I need to say, I'm just gonna appreciate this for the funny shit that like it is. It's funny. Godzilla, I appreciate the follow. Godzilla says, I heard you got boners during wrestling matches, lost points over it, and always got eighth place. True. Some of you guys are so retarded, it's creative. Like, you're so creative, it's retarded. I meant to say, yeah, it's like, that's funny. No one cares about your motivational speeches, bro. I mean, clearly you do. You're still here. You actually, I think, gave the most comments out of everybody, Godzilla, and you follow too. So I know you're, honestly, this is funny. But kids on TikTok are just the most retarded. I don't know what it is, yo. What's going on? What the hell is going on? But kids on TikTok are mad. I'm gonna read this again. Or Godzilla goes, you could be used as a sleep aid. Melatonin ain't got nothing on you when you talk. So you're saying my voice is soothing. That's sus, bro. That's sus, man. That's sus. Questionable behavior, man. Kiss My Destiny says, randomly came here, lol. I hope you have a beautiful day, man. For real. Ignore low vibrational souls, man. Oh, I was already ignoring them during the recording, but I mean, now it's like kind of bored. I want to look at that. That it's kind of funny. Like, I won't lie. It's kind of funny. It's like, No, out of all the things they decided to do, they decided to just sit here and like throw eggs at me for no reason. So I'm gonna just I'll take it. It's funny. Doesn't actually do anything to me negatively or positive. Well, I guess it makes me laugh, but doesn't really actually. It's nothing to me, really, honestly. So, Kiss My Destiny says it's true. I think she was relating to something I was talking about. Codzilla says you could be. I already read that. He just started copying and pasting the same thing. Kiss My Destiny says, I don't know why, though, in this day and age, men feel like they can't express their emotions because they are deemed as weak. Um, it's not even like a deemed as weak thing. And I think most, and as a man, I gotta let me know if you relate to this, if you're a guy and you're listening to this or watching this. I don't even think it has a lot to do with being deemed as weak. Like, yes, that's a component, but it's mostly like vulnerability in the sense like once you confess and admit that you can feel pain, which we all know we all can feel, or at least once you're specific about the pain that you felt, it becomes a tool that you think's like, and this is at least for me. I don't know if all men think like this. I think it's like a tool where somebody can like, it's like they have a leverage point over me, like because they know that I went through, I was raised through like a broken family, or because they know that I had to deal with the stabbing of my father, whatever it is, that it's like sort of now a crutch that society knows something about me, and I don't know something about the person that knows that thing about me, and it's not that it makes me weaker, but it's like they have more leverage and or control over um it feels like my emotions based off of how much more negative shit about me they know than I know about them. If that makes sense. That's how I think about it. I don't know about uh other men, but like that's how I think about it. And in society, I think most men think like that, to be honest with you. It's like it's like weaknesses, right? You will be viewed as weak if everybody knows your weaknesses. And I'm labeling them as weaknesses because it's like, okay, so if two people share negative events or experiences that they had in their life, and whether or not they're equally as bad or not, whatever, it feels good because you both are on like the same playing field when it comes to experiencing something bad. Like you both open up to each other. But when you are always opening up as a guy and someone isn't opening up back to you, or wherever you're opening up is just like you're just the one speaking, it's an echo chamber, then everybody, you fear that everybody listening could be taking that information to have leverage against you. Like that's what I think, right? And it's not that society necessarily makes it so that you're weak as a man if you say these things, but I think it's like as a man, intrinsically, you're like you don't want to be taken advantage of, so you don't want to be giving people the keys to the things that have shaken your life up in the past. You know what I mean? It's like even with girls sometimes. Like if you notice, and if you're a guy, you could definitely relate to this. Like not always telling your girl everything that happened in your life that made you who you are. Like if it's negative, because you don't want it to one day fucking be thrown in your face, like in the middle of an argument. Like you don't want that, so you're not gonna like go all the way out and go out of your way to essentially talk about your weaknesses because you can you fear getting exploited more than you fear being seen as weak. That's what I think it is. You fear getting exploited more than you fear being looked at as weak, right? So I'd rather have give people less tools to manipulate me or to throw me under the bus based off of what I've been through, which is as unfortunate as it is, very very common in today's society. But I appreciate that. I really, really, really do appreciate your question there. It take me over. Hardcore pot stirrer says that. I don't know what that means. Kazulo says the same thing again. I don't know why. Kazulo is just copying pasting the same thing. Strongmen. So kiss my destiny says, strongmen express themselves just like you're doing right now. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. She says, why be real, be authentic, or else you're not living in your truth. I don't even like the statement in your truth. That fucking makes me angry. I won't even, or I think it makes me angry. The reason why I don't like that is because it takes away reality. My truth is not real. Your truth is not real. The truth is real. It's objective or subjective, period. And I super fucking appreciate your comment. And I know you don't mean like you only mean well. Like I get that. But my truth and your truth, all that shit does not exist. It's not in not even in my opinion. It's just it does not exist. Maybe if we're talking about feelings and emotions and things that are truly subjective, yes, but then it's not necessarily a truth because it's subjective. But like there's no two realities. There's just one, right? So I'm gonna be me, and which I am gonna be, and I've been, and I'll always be forever. But yeah, not living in your truth. I think that means so many millions of things that I don't even want to break it down. Godzilla says, "Is this man trying to single-handedly cure insomnia worldwide with his rant?" So this was the podcast. I don't know what the fuck you were on, but I don't know. It clearly didn't work because you're up and you're awake commenting. Kiss My Destiny says, Jesus, I'm sorry that happened to your dad, man. For real. Yeah, I appreciate it. Godzilla says, is this man trying to single-handedly, so he says yawn or whatever. No one cares, bro. You're putting us to sleep. Who's us, man? This guy is actually hilarious. Godzilla. And it's weird because like he's saying all these negative things, but he decided to like randomly follow today. So honestly, I actually do appreciate this. As weird as this sounds, I actually kind of appreciate it. Like you decided to stay here and like, makes me feel good. I won't lie. It shouldn't, but it does, man. What the fuck? You got me, bro. Kiss My Destiny says, You're a divine masculine. In case you didn't know, have a beautiful day, King. I appreciate you. Honestly, the love and support, I appreciate it. I won't even lie. I appreciate you just saying nice things. You don't have to. You literally didn't even have to tune into this live stream. You did. So I appreciate it. I'll be honest with you. I appreciate you just doing your best to share positive energy. Kawhi. Yeah, I haven't got that one in a long time. Yeah, usually when I get braids, they call me Kawhi. There's only three of us. No one cares. Yeah, well, three of you on TikTok, I think, at 187 or 200 past. So Godzilla, please, man, dude. Kiss My Destiny says, I'm listening to him. Granted, I have to go now. Speak for yourself, dude. Jan, did anyone else almost fall asleep listening to this guy's boring outlooks on life? Jan. There's no way you're typing that shit and you're not laughing, bro. You're actually a clown. Anyway, people, that's it. That's all. I appreciate y'all for sticking around for just about an hour here. Anyway, hope you guys and girls have the sickest motherfucking day of your life. You know what time it is. We are out. Boom.